There you go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Wellington MuleSoft Meetup Group. Um, and thanks for taking the time out of your busy day. Today we're going to talk about the design and implementation around logging strategies and what would be the proposed solution, which is the logging framework. So if you are new to MuleSoft, there's no, what do you call this? There's no dumb questions. So please ask away. I'd like this meetup to be interactive. So if you can't unmute yourself, let me know. Yeah. So you could ask anytime. All right. Cool. So we'll start. Next slide. No. All right. So for those who don't know me, I'm Joy. I'm based in Auckland, New Zealand. So I work as an advisor solution architect for DXC technology. I'm one of the MuleSoft ambassadors as well, and I'm one of the co-organizers of the Wellington and Auckland meetup groups. And with me today is Manolo. You could call him Noel for short. And it's his very first time joining the MuleSoft meetup as a speaker. So, can you please introduce yourself, Noel?
Sorry, I was on mute. So hello everyone. Yeah, again, just call me Noel for short. So yeah, I've been a MuleSoft developer for 3 years now, and I have industry experience related to telecom, aviation, and food. And yeah, this comes to my software development journey. So it's still the same. So got into MuleSoft 3 years, way 3 years ago, and then about 2 years ago and it got my MCP level 1 for on say a few months after it got enabled for MuleSoft. And yeah, I guess that's a short introduction about I mean you
All
may
right.
not.
Thanks, Noel. Can you hear Noel? Okay. Because, yeah, I can't hear you well, Noel.
Let me just check the. It might be because the microphone is not set up on my
Yeah.
headset. So that might be the issue. I'll check.
All right. Cool. Thank you. So while you're checking that, can you please move to the next slide? No. All right. So we'll start by talking about the problem statement. I think the agenda should come first, but the agenda would be we'll talk about the problem statement first, and then second is the API logging recommendations from the operational and security standpoint, and then what would be the proposed solution, and then demo, and then at the end we will ask the participants what have you learned from this session as our key takeaways. All right. So problem statement. Why logging is so important. I know there are lots of products that has been released recently by MuleSoft, and if you see there are a lot, the discussions are around those products, but I think we should not forget about the core topics, and one of those is around the logging. So why logging is important in software development. So oftentimes seasoned programmers don't understand oftentimes the junior developers don't understand the value of logging. But as you get experience and become seasoned programmers or developers, you understand the value of logging. So logging is an essential aspect of software development. So why it is important? First, it helps us troubleshoot the bugs. At the very least, there has to be one environment where your application is deployed. So no matter the environment an application is deployed, there is a point where you don't have the ability to check step by step what is happening in the application, especially when bugs start happening and you need to take care of them as soon as possible. And this is very important from the operations team or BAU team or support team. So by adding logs, you can quickly determine, or at least very least get an idea of why your application is broken. So logging would help you to investigate the issue. So that's the first importance of logging. The second importance is it improves monitoring projects in production environments. So logs provide data, and we know data is very, very important in integration. That's the heart of integration. It's about message exchange. So on your logging, for example, you could add timestamps for every single log of your application that generates. And then in database, for example, you've got the timestamp configured there, and there are different actions, say delete, update, add, and you would know who are the user who performed that action. So why it's important from the monitoring perspective. So it will give you an idea when so through that timestamp when the users are actively using an app. And if you are into like performance testing, that will help you a lot to identify the bottleneck. And another example would be if you do a benchmark testing. So say for example, if you wanted to like create a matrix depends upon the volume of your messages, then logging the timestamp would really help you without redeploying or putting a breakpoint on your application. So that's going to happen during the runtime. And then last thing is again, it's related to the first one, which is facilitates the debugging. So being able to quickly check the latest logs and get an idea of where the error is happening, it could save you a lot of time. Um, and while logging might not be the best alternative for debugging, it facilitates debugging without adding any additional configuration to enable breakpoints. So I think when you have the titanium license, so MuleSoft, for those who don't know about the MuleSoft pricing model, it has like different tiers. You've got the gold, platinum, and titanium, which is the highest and most expensive. There's like codeless debugging there that you could do. But if you don't have that type of license, then definitely you would need to consider improving your logging mechanism. So that's why logging is very important. Okay. Any questions there? All right. So yeah, we swapped the slides. So next slide, please. No. All right. So API logging recommendations. When you plan for a logging framework for your organization, you need to design and come up with different strategies before you build a framework. So these API logging recommendations are based on the MuleSoft Catalyst and recommended by the MuleSoft Professional Services. So you could add, you could tweak, you could tailor it based on your organization's need. So first is log or track exceptions as close to the event as possible. Second, reuse logging formats to ensure of consistency across Mule applications. So this is what Noel's going to show um, later. What would be the solution to ensure that there's a consistency. Third, avoid operations in exception handlers that introduce blocking. Introduce logging milestones, checkpoints where appropriate to provide greater visibility to technical or business events. So, for example, if you're a developer, you call a downstream system, say via HTTP or request connector. So you could have, or you could place your logging before and after that. So you could log, what's the payload before calling the downstream and after you call the downstream. And in that way as well, you could gauge the response time, like how long does it take for the transaction to be processed from the downstream service back to your API. Another example would be data transformation. So if you have the transform message component, you could add the logging before and after that. So you could, say for example, if there's a transformation issue error, then you could check in the logs, like, how does it look like before I transformed it and after, and see if there's an issue with your data weave. Okay. Next, include identifiers in exception handling to help identify message origination. Example, source system, identifier, mule correlation ID, type of exception, originating queue name. So in later slide, I'll show the message standard format, logging message standard format, what you could see in the logs, and one of those is the source system, like, and the target system, and then the correlation ID. So correlation ID is a predefined variable in MuleSoft. So you don't generate it explicitly. You could just type in correlation ID, I believe, and then it will give you the correlation ID. You could assign it to the placeholder if you want, if you have, if you preferred a different name when it comes to your correlation ID. And then ensure all exceptions are identified with a unique code that can be tied back to specific use case, condition, and type of error. So this is, say, for example, you've got a specific error code that's been agreed on your, web service contract. And then ensure the exception handling and triggers that result from exceptions are centralized. Ensure a common definition of the error object across use cases. And then lastly, generate exception metrics. So if you need to do reporting, then this could help you. So we will publish this slide in our meetup page. So don't you worry, and even the recording, so you could grab a screenshot of this recommendations. Okay. So are you sorted, Lakshmi? Okay, she'll rejoin. Cool. No questions so far. Next slide. No. So that's from the operational standpoint recommendation. So from the security standpoint, as we all know, sensitive information should never be logged to the log files. For example, credit cards, passwords, client secrets. Even if it is logged in debug mode, it is still a security risk. So, as a sensitive information would be visible by just changing the logging levels. Masking or hiding sensitive fields should be done before logging. So, Noel will show you later how you could use the logging accelerator to mask or hide those sensitive details. All right, next slide. Is that the next slide? No. I think there's like a table first, right? Uh, I, I think let's go. Okay, so I'll just pass it on to you then.
Yep.
Okay, okay, here we go. So standard logging format. So this is what I was saying. These are the attributes that you could see in the logs. This would be in the JSON format. So you've got correlation ID, you've got message. So message, you could use that as a placeholder if you have any custom message. And then trace point. So trace point would be a drop down list on your logging connector attribute. And then origin application, so your source system where the traffic is coming from. And then this destination application, and then method name. So say for example, if it's a get, a post, put, delete, elapsed time, you've got timestamp, and then the environment. I think the environment, that's a predefined variable. Is that correct? No, that's a predefined, isn't it? It's getting it from the system, right? You don't need to define that explicitly.
Yes,
No, I think
there
it
is
comes from the
a
environment file you choose that one.
Sorry,
um
Prab?
No, I think environment is basically set itself, whatever the environment we run for
Yeah,
in
the
the
mule
input
dot
property.
.env, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all you could grab that as from the system. All
yep.
right. So that's the standard logging format. Do we have any questions so far? No questions. Okay. Let me know if I'm being quick here. So I think that's my last slide, Noel. So let's talk about the proposed solution here. Now we know what's the problem. We have a strategy. So let's solution this one. So I'll hand it over to Noel to talk about the logging accelerator. Over to
Yep.
you, Noel.
Yes, thanks, Joy. Um, yeah, as Joy mentioned, one of the important things really when it comes to the strategy would be, I guess it would be best to emphasize when it comes to the logging structure that there must be consistency in the information that we are logging with. Because after all, if we're
Um,
gonna be,
Sorry, Noel. Can
Sorry,
you
no.
louder?
Yeah, I think
yeah,
let's be close to you. I think your voice is not
yeah, I think the mics, picking up the laptops. It's using the laptop's mic and not the one,
Yeah, or
not
if
the,
you could just move closer to
yeah, yeah.
laptop.
Okay. Does that sound clear?
All good? All good, Prav?
Yeah, yeah, good. Thanks. And yeah, going back, yeah, as I mentioned, I cannot be emphasized enough when it comes to the consistency and the information that we are logging, right? Because after all, if we're going to be taking advantage of softwares like Splunk and the like, I we need to make sure that those data can be retrieved. And there, for those data to be retrieved, we make sure that there
Sorry,
must be,
Noel. Sorry,
yeah,
Noel, for um, interrupting, but they can't hear you well.
okay. Sorry, let me check out my my set. Uh, how about this? How this one? Um, does that make a difference?
No. Okay,
Okay,
just give us one sec, guys. We're sorting it out.
yep. My, here.
Okay, I think he'll rejoin. So let's just wait for Noel. For the meantime, do you guys have any questions so far? Oh, by the way, we forgot to take the photo. We'll do it later. Actually, we can do it now. Can everyone enable their camera, please? We'll have a photo op. Love it. Good to see you, Barb. Hi, Lalita. Hey, Priyanka.
Hi, Joy. How are you doing?
Hi,
Good, good.
Joy.
How are you? Oh, Morali. Good to see familiar faces.
Nice to
All
see
right.
Praveen after a
Yeah.
long time.
Oh, okay. Gautam, Dave, Raju, Sweetak, Edward, Sajid. Yeah. We'll just have a photo op, right? Awesome. Okay, one more while waiting for Noel.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, join the photo. No. All right, cool. Thanks, everyone. All right, back to you, Noel.
Yep. Let me just share
Yeah,
my screen again.
better.
Am I? Is it? Is the yeah? Is the sound better?
Yes, way better. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yep. Nice. Yeah. Going back. Can you see the shared screen now?
We're seeing the is that
Should
presenter mode? Yeah, just
it
switch.
should be on proposed solution. Uh, Let me share again. Not sure what's happening here. Sharing again. How about that?
Yeah, all good.
Yes. Yeah, back from the start. So yeah, as Joy mentioned, it cannot be emphasized enough when it comes to a structured log. Things must be standardized. That way, we can take advantage, especially if we're going to be taking advantage of softwares like Splunk and all, because if the logging fields are going to be different, then it would be really hard to get insight out from those software because after all, if they have different names, then and if they have contain non-standard fields, then it would be difficult to really get those data out of the software, right? So that's one of I guess one of the main concerns when it comes to logging that would benefit with using Splunk and other software and stuff.
Oh, the
So,
screen share stopped, Noel. Sorry.
oh, sorry. Again, sorry for that.
All good.
I wonder why. So, moving on to the next slide. Let me just take out my notes. So, yeah, when it comes to uh, uh, when it comes to tackling this problem, there are objectives that we have in mind. And so with the logging accelerator, it provides standard logging template for MuleSoft API. As I mentioned, consistency is good so that developers won't be lost on what things are needed to be logged. And yeah, it serves as a general guidelines for developers working on integration use cases and technical leads performing the code review. Also, MuleSoft extensively uses log4j2 for all logging requirements. The current log4j format is widely known and accepted format for Java-based application and is a first-class citizen in most logging analysis tools. So while log4j provides standard layout for logging, it is strongly recommended to standardize the payload structure provided within log4j format, and you may customize this based on your organization's requirement. So yeah, as a while ago, Joy showed the table on the technical requirement on what needs to be logged. And so basically, this table right here. So basically, the thing is, for those MuleSoft developers out there, we already have a out of the box logger that MuleSoft provides, the logger. But the thing about that logger is that it does not allow for us to do structured logging. So it's difficult to enforce consistency when it comes to which information should be logged and what should the name be. So therefore, that logger is not that good when not very desirable when it comes to the objectives that we have in mind. So for that, we are using this logging framework, this logging accelerator. It's open source. You can get this in GitHub. So here, and yeah, and the good thing about this one is that by the way, thanks for the people behind this framework, uh, Andres Ramirez, and the contributors of this framework. So basically, this one's free to use, and so basically, it takes off care of the challenges that we are having when uh, that's not possible with the out of the box logger that we have with MuleSoft. So it basically enables us to add some fields that we might want the developers to populate, and that's one of the take advantage. There are several features that that is not actually there are several features like forwarding logs and some other features that you might want to check out with this one. But as for the I'll be demoing later. Yeah, I'll show some of it later. But yeah, you can check the logging framework out. And basically, the good thing about this is that it solves our problems that I mentioned a while ago. And so for the demo part, let me just grab. Sorry for. Let me just grab. My, and yeah, as for the demo part, there's going to be three parts of it. I'll be using the connector first. I want to make sure that you get the result of using. I want to make sure that I'll be able to show the result of using the connector. So it's much easier to appreciate if you can see the result beforehand. And I'll be showing how to use this in your organization by publishing to Exchange, and we're also showing the code difference or changes or the updates that I have done with the original code base. So yeah, some assumptions um, in this is that one, you need to create a AnyPoint platform account. Do create one for those of you who don't have one. It's easy to create or sign up. Just Google AnyPoint platform, then sign up, and then the first result in Google should give you the link to register. And yeah, from there you just sign up this very small form, just some small information, and then once you accept the terms and condition, should be able to good to go when it comes to exploring any point platform. And that's somewhat how quick it is in creating the AnyPoint platform account. And also you need to download AnyPoint Studio, and this one's from you as well. And you need Postman, and you also need a Maven installed um, on your machine. This is for in order for you to install and deploy the custom connector, the accelerator. And yeah, and I think you can see my screen now. And yeah, yeah, I'd like to note that I'd like to inform you ahead that there's no sound on the videos that I'll be showing. Basically, I'm just gonna be doing a voice over and walk you through the video and what's happening. So yeah, ignore this comment for now, and I'll play the video. So basically, usually when you're starting off with a project, of course you create the project in any point studio. Then if you're going to be using the connector, once you have already downloaded from Exchange, I'll be showing this off later. I'll be demoing how to do that later. You should be able to create a project, and from there usually you would to start the project, you need the flow, right? So once you are able to download the dependency, then you should be able to use the connector. And as you can see here, there are fields in here that's common to the out of the box logger that we have, and we got the message here that's similar to the ones that's found in the out of the box logger. We also have the trace point, and rather the priority. This is something is also that's common with the out of the box logger, but I believe the field name for it in the out of the box logger is level, and we also have the category here. So the same information um, you should be able to see in this custom connector. And yeah, going ahead, and besides those things, as Joy mentioned, there are um, information, there are fields that you can add. That way we can meet the technical requirement that we have set out a while ago when it comes to the basic logging information that's needed. So here, the method name, this once you place the let me just get let me just get the laser pointer thing, so it's better for me to also um, point to where I'm at. So give me a moment. Sorry, current slide. Here. So yeah, let's continue. Oh, oh, it doesn't seem to. It doesn't allow me to use the laser point while playing the video. So but yeah, I'll um I'll just walk you through with what's currently happening with the video. So yeah, as you can see, you have priority and you have the origin application, destination application as well. And these are the fields that are required by the technical. These are what it's needed by the technical requirements. So here in the method name, this one's this is a default value that I have set for this one. And the idea is that we're trying to get the HTTP method and also the endpoint that and the HTTP method and the endpoint. But because this one's regionally stored in the attributes, as you all know, the attributes usually get overridden if they pass through a connector that that calls an external system, right? So we need to ensure that this one is um, stored in a flow variable. So here, so yep, and also here you can check out the configuration for this logger. So you have default values here that I have set up. This one's not pre-populated. Once you can set this up in when you modify the custom connector. You set the default value, uh, and so here most of the fields have already defaulted to some property placeholder. App that name is actually is a reserved property. So basically what it does is that it will take the name of the app that's if it's deployed locally, then what you'll be gonna be seeing is the name of the app that you in the project explorer, while if you deployed it in cloud hub, you should be able to see the app name there. But yeah, you can, it really depends on you and which default value that you'd like to set. So, and yeah, given that I've added a property holder there, I've defined the property to ensure that this application um, can be deployed. And yeah, so that as shown here, right? So basically what's happening is that once the developer tries to get this out of the canvas, there's already default values that are set there. That way, the user don't have to populate themselves, right? So that's one if the feature that you can take advantage of that way to make everything consistent. And yeah, playing it on again. So basically, right now what I'm doing is that I'm gonna show off the how this one's used. So this one's already something that I've already done. As I mentioned a while ago, we want to capture the attributes that method and the attributes request URI. And because these are attributes, so this will get lost when it passes another component that calls an external system. So we need to have this stored in a flow variable. And here I've configured the information required. So we have the origin application, just some sample. We have here in the origin application and yeah, origin application. You have the destination application as well, and some other fields are populated. And ones that are shown here, I'm trying to log the payload and also add another message here, a log message. This is just some things that you can take advantage of, something that you can customize if it's not already present there in the field that's already defined by in the accelerator. Mm. And yeah, for the configuration, it's just the same, the default one. So once that's set up, you should be able to start the application. And here I'm trying to save it so it can be deployed. So it now has started. So we're trying to test this in Postman now, and this is the endpoint that we're using to test, and this is local. And this are, as you can see, there's a request body here with certain fields, and basically you have some user here and some password and some driver ID. And we're going to be sending it to the local app. So as you can see here, it shows like this. Oh, sorry. Uh, click the wrong. Let me just go back to that part. So as you can see, this is how it would look like in the logs. So we do have the correlation ID. This is nifty when it comes to tracing the transaction. Basically, it's sort of the ID of the transaction itself. And you do have a trace point here that you have set. You have the priority as well, and then the origin application, destination application. And to get the method name, the get test, and custom, we do have the timestamp and the message that we have defined earlier a while ago. And if, sorry, click again, going back. So as you can see here, the password is masked out, right? So basically, what happened is that we have added this in the property placeholder for mask fields, and so basically we have set that the password should be masked, and that's what you're seeing here. If you remember in the request, this one's not xxx and some star 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 value, but it's an actual value. But when you see it in the logs, you see that the values have been changed in order to introduce some sort of obscurity um, on your logging. But for the disabled fields, though, unfortunately, it seems like it's not working at this time. So what this should do would be to omit the fields in the logs. But right now, it's it's not omitting the fields. But yeah, if you want to take advantage of the mask fields, that's really good. Um, allows you this feature, so which makes this logging framework really good to use. And so also we can have that. I'm going to be showing test on Cloud Hub. So this is the application and it's deployed. It's the same one that I have checked earlier. What you're currently seeing is not so clear logs. I'll be showing you a better pixel later. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding XXX just to differentiate it from the other transactions that I had earlier. So here, go to the application, make sure that we refresh so we can see the transaction again. And as you can see here, you should be able to see the XXX. Right now, the quality of the video, this part of the text, not very good. So I'll be showing you a clear picture. Uh, and yeah, moving on. So basically, this is what you saw earlier in the logs, in the Cloud Hub logs. So if you can see here, when if you check out the application name, it's somewhere in the bottom part. If you check that part here, you can see that the application name is JSON-logger-demo-2023. This is the same app name that you have in Cloud Hub, the one that you used to name the application, and it's not the one that used locally. That's why if you want to use the app that name reserved keyword, that's also good. And also for the environment, there is a way to take the environment that the application is on here. I'm using the sandbox environment. If you use the environment that type property, it's I think it's a reserved property as well, and it should be able to take the app the environment on which the application is on. So that's why you're seeing sandbox instead of let's say for example you define mule.dev to be equal to um, some property, but yeah, you can opt to use the environment that type instead of the one that you would usually you explicitly define in your properties file. So yes, I guess that's it for the demo part. So I hope that you are a bit demo part on using the connector rather in testing with Postman. I guess you yeah, hopefully you should be able to appreciate what how powerful this logging framework can be if you take advantage of its feature. So one, you introduce consistency. That's one of the best thing about it. At least when you're going to be querying this in your Splunk or whatnot, then yeah, you ensure that the field names are consistent, the property names, so that you'll be able to retrieve them and give you good data insight on what's happening. You can do it for troubleshooting, or maybe you can just provide you good business data insight. So moving on with the demo, I'm going to showing you how to publish it to the logger to Exchange using Maven. So basically, when you clone the GitHub repository, you get these sets of files here. You have the blog post, JSON-logger, and the templates file. So these are a bunch of files that's included in the GitHub repo. And what I'd like you to take notice would be, let me just go back. So basically, the JSON-logger contains the POM file and the source code related to creating that custom connector. But the template files contains one other file that's necessary in order for us to deploy to Exchange, and that would be the settings file. This is something, this is a template that you can use, and it's there in the GitHub repo. So you can copy this one and ensure that this
Mel, just wanna add comment here. So when you so I provided the logging accelerator resource, which is in the public GitHub. I would suggest you download the code there and upload it to your own repo, so you have the control of what you're gonna change on that source code. So you don't directly download what's been changed in the public, but you will host it on your own repo. Okay. Yeah,
yes,
that's
yes,
all.
thanks for that, Joy. And yeah, as Joy mentioned, you can have it in your own repository. But here on my case, I'm just using the local Maven one and for demo purposes. So in the settings that XML file, you should there are things that you need to populate, and that would include you need to provide the credentials to exchange your exchange, and you can use actually for testing purposes you can use the ones that you've used to play with any point platform. So you can use that username and password, but usually the best practice would be maybe use a specialized account or an open ID. Create an open ID for it. And also in order for you to this information is also needed. Basically this is for the Maven enterprise, forgot, enterprise Maven repository. This information here can be you can retrieve it from the MuleSoft support team. This is the case if you have an enterprise account. Oh, sorry. So yeah, that's it. And so here, this is the code base. You can see there's a POM file in the middle of the screen, left in the middle. There's POM file there. And if you basically right now, what I'm doing is I'm going to be deploying it to Exchange and open the terminal and this and make sure that it's in the directory where the POM file is, and execute the following Maven um, command. And when all of these things are done with with when the things gets done, the accelerator, the custom connector should be uploaded to Exchange, published. So yeah, it should take for a few minutes depending depending on your internet connection. So you can see here the build success. This tells you that it was successfully published to Exchange, and you can verify it going to Exchange. And then this is the custom connector. As you can see here, it's updated 42 seconds ago. That's the one that was done earlier. And you should be able to verify and use it. You go to Studio, make sure that you are logged in, and search for the asset, then add it in there. And there you got it. You can now use the custom connector. And yeah, I guess that's how you publish it to Exchange. And moving on to, sorry, moving on. And for the changes that I've made, uh, most of it appears on on the schema folder. So I'll play the video now. So as you can see here, there's a comparison between the original GitHub repository. The left one is the original one, and the second one is the one that I have used. So basically it's a modified one. So if you take in the diff here, so you can see that there are changes to the files, and there are missing Java files here. There are actually some dependencies that's added with the GitHub repo. So what we did here is that we removed that dependency and as well as the associated uh, Java files. And also the changes with the POM. So this is one important thing if you're going to be using Maven to deploy to your exchange. Make sure that the group ID is set to your organization's ID. You can go to access management for that. And as I mentioned earlier, I've removed some dependencies related to forwarding. So since we're not using that feature, and this one's auto-populated if you're using Anypoint Studio 7, Studio 7 version. So yeah, this will allow you to use Exchange v3. So here, as mentioned in the schema, this is where everything or the changes you will this is where your changes will be. And yeah, it's good thing about it is that this JSON logger, by the way, is built rather created using Java SDK, and Java SDK is really difficult to work with, especially if you don't have a lot of experience with Java. But the good thing about the this framework is that they have made it the team behind this have made it so that it's easy for you to add those necessary fields and give the um, n- add those necessary fields, and also use a default value by taking advantage of those schema files. So here the logger config, this one contains the information on your JSON logger configuration. So as you can see here, I have for the application name on, there's no line number, but somewhere on the first red difference, I have added default value for it, the app.name, the reserved property that I mentioned a while ago. So this one becomes a default for the that um, field, and also for the application version and the environment as well. I've added a default property. This is something that any value you can think of, you may use as a default. But yeah, I guess that's our preference um, on your, or rather a preference on how the preference really on anyone, especially when it comes to make sure that you're technically aligned. So here we also have the uh, we have removed some feature. This one's a location, log location info, which allows you to track which line in your configuration XML, where um, which configuration XML the logger is in, or yep. And also for the disabled fields, sorry, it went back. So also for the disabled fields and the masking fields, I've added a default value. It's just a property holder. So that's why you make sure that you define this in your properties file, so that way the app is deployable. And yeah, moving on to the logger processor. These scheme this JSON here takes care of the one that you're seeing, the mule properties. Once you click the mule component, or rather the connector. So as you can see here, the message. I've modified the message, and there's also a content field there originally, but I've removed that one. And yeah, it's, that's sorry, basically what's in the change. And also later, I I'll be showing you. I think the screen has. Oh no. So basically, I've also added the field so that I can be compliant to the technical requirements. So if I scroll down here, I've added the origin application, the destination application, and the method name in here. So that way, yeah, the developers will know right away that these things need to be logged. So there you have it. This- So yep, and the method name. And yep, and the changes here is not that too crucial. Basically, we're also trying to comment out some the originally in the original source code, a thread name is being logged, but in our case, we didn't want to log that one, so this one's commented out. That's why you can see here it's commented out. This one's related to the thread name and forwarding feature that JSON Logger framework has, or the accelerator. And yeah, I guess that's it for the demo. That's I've shown parts about how to publish the exchange and using the connector. And also I've demoed on the code difference on changes that I did in order to meet the technical requirements. And yeah, I guess that's it for the demo. And Joy can have Joy, can you please have the floor now?
All right. Thank you so much, Noel. That was a good presentation. Very detailed and technical. So, do we have any questions so far?
I
Yeah,
have one question. I was
sure.
wondering, so we can still use the log4j.xml in order to, change what we want to see in the log output or not when we use this JSON logger.
Yeah, for the if you wanna add fields for JSON logger, basically as shown here, somewhere in the middle, there's a file here that's called logger processor JSON. This is the one that you will be using in order to add the field. So I'll show that here. So one of the technical requirements was to have the origin application and destination application and method name, right? So if you want to have this one automatically on your custom connector, then you need to use that schema. You need only to add it in this JSON, and just and basically you can just add them here, and it should then show up on the Mule properties so that the developers will automatically
No,
um,
what I meant was like I wanted to add appenders or change something from
Yeah.
debug, the
So
level to, say for example, I want to make the HTTP logging,
mhm.
debug, for example.
Yeah, for
Currently, what
that,
I do is, just go to the log4j2.xml in my source main resources and set, the class category that I want to debug. I can set it. Can I continue to do that if I use this?
Yeah,
yes, you can, Alita.
yeah, I could
Yeah, you
answer
can.
that. So these two things, they have different purpose. The log4j would always be there because that's the logging mechanism of all the MuleSoft applications. But the only thing with the log4j, you set the appenders. If you wanted to externally feed the logs to Splunk, you've got appenders for that. If you want to, show the logs in Cloud Hub at the same time, you insert the appenders for that. If you want to show at a certain level the categories of the log. So, what's this category about? If you use the out of the box logger component of MuleSoft, there's a field there around category.
Yeah,
So, say for example, if you want to say com dot dummy organization dot 1 2 3 XYZ. So if you wanted to show that category at a certain level of
yeah,
logging, say info debug error,
yeah,
then you figure that on your log4j or on your runtime manager via the UI, right? Um, Now, this logging framework has a different scope, has a different purpose, wherein you populate this informations like the origin, the target system, the correlation ID, which I don't think you could do in the log4j.xml, log4j2.xml. So yeah, it works in conjunction because in logger you could categorize your your logging, and then you configure that to be appear via log4j. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
because I've used an older version of this logger, and then it was using some SL4J or something, and so it could not. I couldn't. If I used a category in the custom logger, I could no longer, change its level via the log4j.xml. So I just wanted to check that that's
so probably that's the precedence, the order of precedence of how it works. So if you configure that and it doesn't override via log4j, then I think that's the order there. So just don't configure there on your component, and then make your log4j as your centralized um, configuration of all those logging categories instead, and then make use of your logging accelerator for its purpose of populating those information out of your mule flows.
yeah, including category.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Joy.
Yeah, all good. All right, any more questions? Is that all? Okay, well, I think we'll just go to key takeaways.
Yeah, I think just wanted to ask this question is like, I guess if you want to try the, like, I mean, maybe all participants might like to try the JSON connector,
Mm.
JSON logger connector. So I guess with the trial version of any point, are we able to push the connector to the exchange? Uh,
Yes,
so like, do we get the, like, to push to the exchange, you need the organization ID, um, and then you basically put that thing in the exchange repository link.
yes.
Yeah, I guess
So
Praveen, your trial
that
one, you can
I
access the
I
organization ID.
you can.
Yeah.
I can based on my experience with that, you need the Nexus repository credentials in order for you to play with this JSON logger. And that's based on my experience. So might need an enterprise account and basically ask the MuleSoft team for those Nexus credentials, because based on my
Yeah,
experience, it's not
yeah,
possible.
yeah,
Actually, there were some in the blogs I've noticed they have provided some workaround, but it didn't work for me.
So
yeah.
you're
I
using a
think
trial
because
account, right, of any point,
Yep,
but you still
it's
want to publish it.
because
Yeah, the
at
only
one point,
problem
if
now,
I
John,
uh,
is with
yeah,
your trial account, it has this multi-factor authentication. So it's hard to use that in your settings.xml. So you
Uh,
need
you
to
can
create a
for
connected app or something
yeah,
like
you
that.
need to use connector,
You can
right?
use
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you go via connected app. So that is something to do with your deployment mechanism, right? So if you're
Mm.
gonna stick with Maven, then that's how you should go. That like what Noel showed. But if you have a CI/CD pipeline, a proper CI/CD pipeline, then it's gonna go through there. Yeah, via connected apps, regardless if it's a pipeline, if it's automation against the platform. Yeah.
yeah. No, I think I also got stuck with the Nexus credential. Then I asked the new sub support team for that one. So uh,
Yeah. But I guess
uh,
going back to your point, Barb, you could still use the trial account because it generates an organization ID still,
organization
right?
ID. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
All right. Any more questions? Those are really good questions, by the way. Um, so if you
Is
don't
there a
have any more
reason,
questions, yep.
Joy, why we don't have it as a out-of-the-box connector in Exchange? Why do we have to? Why does Mule not provide it?
Because it doesn't support by MuleSoft. So they just, it's like their pet project, but they're not consistent. They're not continuously supporting it. So they only publish connectors if they're gonna support it, or if it's gonna be published by MuleSoft partners. Then yeah, it's just really for you to reuse or customize based on your organization needs, but they don't support that. So if there's any issues, they're not gonna respond to you, and that's why you just have to use that as your baseline, download it, and then upload it to your own repo and do whatever you want, customize it, so you have full control, because not everyone wants to see for example, the source target system, right? If there's no such requirements, then you shouldn't include that in your logger. It depends, right? But yeah, you could still publish it privately on your own organization to
Yeah.
be cool. um Yeah, and it's easier to do a search via Splunk or whatever monitoring platform you have. So you could come up with different queries there, since you already know the standard logging format. All right, let me just check the chat. Cool. So if there's no more questions, thank you so much, guys, for joining in. Yeah, is there anything else you wanted to say, Noel?
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I guess. Thanks everyone for joining in. Thanks Joy for inviting me to speak on this meetup.
No problem.
And yeah. And yeah. I've gotta enjoyed having this one. And thank you again, everyone, for joining.
All right. Thank you so
Right.
much, guys. If
Right.
there
Thanks.
are any questions, further questions, feel free to reach us out via LinkedIn or via the MuleSoft Meetup page. Awesome. All right.
Right.
Have a great
Right.
day,